It's the 120 podcast. Mikey Friendly alongside Ben Hootie. We've been doing a lot of our WZND responsibilities here at school. We've been doing a lot of games. We did games together this past weekend. If you listened in, that was awesome. We appreciate you doing that. But we have been doing kind of an off-season plan for 120. If you listen to our first interview, you probably would have enjoyed that. If you haven't, go back around and listen to that one with Michael Carrico. If you haven't listened to that one, do that first. Now, today, we have another one for you with another Cubs prospect. We're going from the East back to the Midwest. A Minnesota guy, Brett Bateman, is joining the podcast. We did this interview about 2 weeks ago, putting it out on this Wednesday, and we hope everyone likes it. It's Mikey Friendly, Ben Hootie, and Brett Bateman joining us for this episode in this interview. Brett, good to have you on the show.
Yeah, nice. Thanks for having me, guys.
So you are out of Minnesota and a Cubs draft pick this season. A lot of Big Ten honors in your time at Minnesota. We saw you an outfielder and pitcher in college. I'll start it off the bat. What's the plan for the Cubs? Fully outfield?
Yeah, only outfield. We're done pitching for now.
What you say with the laugh? What's the story behind no more pitching from college into the majors?
I mean, if you look at the numbers, nah, I'm kidding. No, I actually ended up getting TJ. I'd repair. I don't know when it was. It was after my freshman year in the summer. I partially tore my UCL. Did repair, and then I ended up playing just outfield for the Gophers. And I was starting in center anyways my freshman year.
Right.
And I only pitched 1 inning. So at that point, they were just like, they told me to keep developing. We want to keep you as a pitcher. Went out that summer tour, and they're just like, yeah, you know what, we're just going to have you play in the field anyways. So
kind of going back to Minnesota, I was, in fact, looking at your numbers, more just the hitting side of things. Noticed freshman year, pretty decent playing time, not as much, but after that, your sophomore year hit right around or above 300, and it's kind of been the same way in every form of baseball that you've played all the way up to Myrtle Beach. What kind of helped make that jump into a player that you could always count on it for a hit if need be?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say the biggest thing was creating a two-strike approach, two-strike adjustment. I think all of us would agree that today, especially in pros, strikeouts have been on the rise. I remember seeing a tweet actually the other day about the percentages of strikeouts, and it was like 20, 30 some odd years ago, it was like under 20%. Now it's like 33% or something like that. So, just being able to still be able to put the ball in play and make something happen with two strikes, has been a huge help, not only at the college level, but at the pro level, because striking out doesn't do you any good when it comes to, moving a guy over or just, even giving yourself a chance to get a hit. So I would just say that's probably one of the bigger things.
So forgive me for not knowing the bad pitching stats, as you so called it, but you obviously did well enough at Minnesota to get tons of Big Ten honors as an outfielder, an impressive resume. You're my age, you're Ben's age. We're all the same age here. Has it really hit you that you are, part of a major league franchise now here in the Arizona Fall League?
Yeah, no, it's funny you say that because my first 2 weeks out in Myrtle, I kind of had I wouldn't say it was a slump, but it was just it was a slow start. And it's an imposter syndrome is a real thing. You just kind of you're just kind of there at that point. And, it takes a little while to get into a swing of things. And I mean, it's not just at the low A level, it's at every level, especially when you go up. It does change. The margin of error becomes extremely small and gets smaller and smaller the higher you go up. So, no, I mean, it still hasn't hit me yet. I still feel like I'm playing college ball, honestly. You go to lift, you're hanging out with teammates, you do stuff after with them. But I say the only big difference is that you're getting paid. So that's really the only big thing that kind of has hit me. But honestly, from that, I mean, I still feel like it's the game of baseball, and you see at pros level, that's just baseball. That's how it is. And yeah, I mean, honestly, it still hasn't hit yet.
What is that dynamic like being in Arizona all by yourself? It's just a bunch of basically college dudes are a little bit older than you. Does it feel nice to have the ability to do that, or is it kind of hard being away from home all the time? What's that like?
No, it's great. You get to hear all the stories of different guys. You watch some guys on TV like Rivera, for example. Like, I mean, he's been around college. He went to Florida. They made the College World Series, and you hear about him, and then you meet him, and he's just like just a normal guy. And he's got, it's kind of weird. And I think when spring training comes around and you hang out with some of the pros and stuff like that, even if I'm able to be around them just for a little while, that's something where it's just gonna be like it's kind of stardom. Like you get starstruck, and it's like, yeah, you know what, I'm kind of here with them, kind of. So, yeah, that's a cool part about it, just being able to hear all the stories and then getting to know the Latinos and the Latin guys, or yeah, the Latino players like Rojas and Hernandez, some of the guys with really bright futures, and just kind of hearing about their stories and watching them play and the way that they play and how it differs from the United States and some of the fire that they play with. So, it's a pretty cool experience overall.
Talk about Mesa, obviously from Minnesota. Ben and I are both coming to you from central Illinois, where the temperature is just starting to get down here in late October. And I bet it's just still beautiful out there in Arizona at the time, right?
It's still pretty hot. It's over 100 here right now. It's been like that, honestly. I think it's not supposed to cool down until next week. It's supposed to be like 86, 85, which I'm pretty excited about. I'm actually heading home this weekend, so I'll be back to when it's like 60. So I'll just throw on a hoodie and shorts, and I'm gonna love it. So, but yeah, it is hot here. It's a desert right now. I can't wait for it to be in the low to mid 80s for sure.
Sticking to home here, I know that you grew up in Minnesota, obviously ended up playing for the Gophers. How special was that for you that you got to play for the college I assume you grew up rooting for? And on top of that, how cool is it that you kind of get to stick in the Midwest? After Myrtle Beach, it's kind of just all Midwestern. You got South Bend, you got Iowa. So what was that kind of like for you that you kind of get to stick around at home as well as get to play for Minnesota?
Yeah, I mean, like you kind of hit it right on the nail. Just growing up, going to Gopher sports. I mean, it wasn't just baseball; it was hockey, it was football. And I actually live only 10 minutes away from campus, so just you hop on a highway and head north, and that's it, and you're there. So, it's pretty cool. It's super nice. My family, I could always go home on the weekends in the fall when we didn't have the season, and watch football with my dad's on Sundays. It's super nice. And then, yeah, like you said, I mean, I'm looking forward to hopefully, getting up to South Bend at some point, and even Iowa. My family can come down and watch. So, it's kind of a blessing as well. But sometimes it's nice to get away from them, and they know it. But, it's awesome. Just being able to play there, represent Maroon and Gold super well. My dad also coaches a college, Augsburg University, which is a D3 school in Minneapolis as well, that I was a bat boy for, and they actually scrimmaged the Gophers a bunch over the past few years. So it's pretty cool. It's a small world. My dad's really good friends with John Anderson and Patrick Casey, the hitting coach in Minnesota. So just being able to play for them, being able to like I said, put on the maroon and gold is awesome.
I had a tech issue there. Sorry about that. I jumped out real fast. I don't know if it was like that at anyone else's end, but I'll cut out whatever happened there. But let's talk a little bit about all those other sports in Minnesota. Were you ever involved in anything else? It's probably pretty hard to avoid hockey up there.
Yeah, went to a few hockey games, two few basketball games, football. Just kind of the mix. Even women's soccer. I have sides and teammates that had girlfriends on the women's soccer team, and they're studs over there. So, just kind of dibbling and dabbling, making some relationships with some athletes in different sports. Super cool.
Kind of going back to baseball for a second here. I saw your highlight reel. It just probably one of the most insane catches I've ever seen. The one that you made at the Viking Stadium. That was super impressive. How does defense play such a big role in your game? Because I could tell just not only from that clip, but just across just your highlight reel. It just is it's there's highlight plays all over the place. How has defense always come easy to you, or is it something that you've worked on and truly and rooted in your arsenal?
Yeah, well, I'm a left-handed 5'10" kid that weighs, less than average. So I've only played outfield my whole life. I've
Yeah.
never played first. Obviously I pitched, but I never could play anywhere else. So I'd always played in the outfield. I'd always played in center my whole life growing up. So, that just comes with time. And, like I said, being able to stay healthy and play in a lot of different ballparks when it comes to Big Ten, wherever we travel, at the Viking Stadium, just kind of stuff like that. That's what kind of helps you in the long run. Just being able to be in different environments, watch how the ball travels. But yeah, I would just say it wasn't just trying to push to be someone else. I just kind of knew what I had when it came to my arsenal. I'm a faster guy. So, just defense is a huge part of my game. I think it's starting to become a bigger part in the MLB today than what it used to be over the past few years, especially and speed as well with the base paths or with the base sizes and stuff like that. So, it's something that I never want to lose ever in my game because I think it's something that's an above average trait that I have for sure.
You talk about being able to maybe pick the brain at some point of the guys, the pros, when spring training starts, for lack of a better term. And there's a lot of outfielders specifically on the Cubs who do have a lot of wisdom in Ian Happ and Seiya Suzuki, Pete Crow Armstrong, now that he had his cup of tea, potentially Cody Bellinger. It doesn't have to be any of those ones I rattled off, but is there any veteran you're really looking forward to maybe getting a chance just to sit down with when you get the chance?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, PCA would be a great one. Especially coming right off of a minor league. He kind of went up the ranks pretty quick, and just kind of pick his brain about what the difference is, what are there not to do in the clubhouse, stuff like that, for the pros and stuff like that. Because there are things that you probably shouldn't do, and then probably just Bellinger. I mean, he's been around the MLB, everywhere, so it'd just be pretty cool just to talk to him about his experiences, maybe his approach to the plate, stuff like that, how it changes. But for sure, probably those two.
Being a Midwestern guy, have you had the ability to stop at a Cubs game yet? Ever take a visit down to North Side and catch a game or anything like that since you've been drafted? Or
I
before that
actually
as
have
well?
not, I actually have not, unfortunately. I know it's something that everyone needs to experience at some point in their life. But hopefully I can make it there playing for my first time. That'd be pretty sweet for sure.
When they say when what you walk up the steps as a fan at Wrigley Field into the grandstand, it's like the coolest feeling in the world. I think that would be pretty trumped by if you were just walking up the dugout steps as a player for the first time. I think that'd be a pretty unbeatable feeling.
Yeah, for sure.
So we learned from Carrico last week that you guys are big Fortnite guys. You have a lot of fun just hanging out when you have some downtime. What else is kind of the vibe over there in Arizona right now? You're obviously not practicing baseball all the time. What else do you guys do?
Well, I actually have a few friends from Minnesota that actually just moved down here to Tempe, that I spent some time with. They have two kids. One of them I played with growing up. His name's Will Rogers. He's currently at Michigan, playing for the Wolverines. He was playing at ASU before transferred to Michigan. And then he has a younger brother named Drew, who is committed to Georgia Tech, who I think will get drafted this year, actually, out of high school. He's a very, very good player. So I actually spent a lot of time with them, go to games. We went to ASU scrimmage to watch scrimmage one time. Obviously, play a bunch of video games. That's kind of a good way to spend time. And then probably not a great way to spend time is going to the casino. But, it is something that we love doing. It's a great time just to get some of the guys together and just, mess around with some of the cash that we get for sure.
You mentioned video games. I know me and Mikey talked about this when we like last week and how I'm a big MLB The Show player. I do you play MLB The Show at all?
No, I actually just bought a PS5 last week. So I only have the free games. I'm still deciding if I want to buy PS Plus because it's $160. So we'll see if I want to pull the trigger on that.
You know that you
Yeah.
you have the ability to send San Diego Studios an email and get yourself a 99 overall card and MLB The Show for
Oh,
online
really?
play. So
Really?
if that tempts you at all to get the game, this isn't an advertisement for MLB The Show, but just throw it out there.
An exclusive card. Maybe.
Yeah.
Might have to.
But talking a little bit more here about moving into next season, Did you enjoy your experience in Myrtle Beach? And is that kind of the plan to continue up in the Cubs minor league system in the next year following spring training?
Yeah, I mean, your thoughts and your assumptions are as good as mine. Not sure where I'm starting next year. We'll kind of see how that, plays out. They're not really worrying about that right now. It's just strength and conditioning. But Myrtle was awesome. The fans are great. It's a great ballpark. Coaches are awesome. Management. The whole social media stuff. They do a great job down there too. They take great pride in the ballpark. Just being able to play on that nice field, the nice grass every single day is a blessing for sure. So, overall, my experience for how short it was there was really good for sure.
It's a beautiful place. I visited it for the first time this summer. It was in June, so I don't think you would have been down there yet. Oh yeah, you didn't even get drafted yet. So,
yeah.
But at Myrtle Beach had some really nice numbers. What kind of went in that seamless transition? Obviously, you said that you felt like you were slumping a little bit when you first got down there, but I mean, the numbers across the board are really solid. So what kind of helped you get into like that mode and just be able to be a really good hitter down there?
Not change anything to keep it short. Like I said, it's baseball. Sometimes you do have to make adjustments and changes. But for me, I've always just found going back to the building blocks of what has created me as a player, when it comes to drills, whether it comes to pregame stuff, really just keeps me consistent. And that's a big part of my game, just being consistent, because, I'm not going to be the type of guy to hit 5 home runs in a week. But I am going to be the type of guy to get on, at a 40% clip, which is exactly something that is very valuable in today's game. So that's just kind of what it is, and just stick with my approach. Don't change anything. And, I knew it would come at some point. It's just how it is. You're going to be in a 2-week slump, and then you're going to be in a 3-week, on fire for 3 weeks. That's just kind of how the game is. And it's just being able to stay in a balanced and nice level mindset. It's probably one of the biggest parts about the game, especially when you play however many games they do in the minors, 120 something, 130 something. So just being able to always be consistent and even keel is probably the biggest part, and probably why I played pretty well in the short stint that I was there for.
Having been in college and in college athletics, kind of your whole career through the beginning of the pandemic into Major League Sports now, and I even know that it's kind of in the rear view. How do you think that experience might have changed your college experience and then has molded you into the athlete you are now?
Yeah, so like you said, I mean, COVID was absolutely brutal, especially in Minnesota. It's a pretty liberal state, so the lockdowns were a lot more extreme than what SEC schools had. But I will say the one thing that I did take out of it was just being able to reflect a lot more and find a lot of more time in improving myself, not only as a person off the field, or on the field, but off the field. I feel like that kind of not only gave me kind of like a reset button to kind of go back on during COVID, just find new hobbies, reach out to people that I hadn't talked to in a while, but just take my mind off of baseball, because, if you think about baseball too much, that's not a good thing. You need to be able to have a drain. You need to be able to have a plug, that kind of releases all the stuff, because believe it or not, baseball is a game of failure. And if you're not able to handle the failure, you're not going to do well. So just being able to reset, find something new, talk to new people, talk to people that I haven't talked to in a long time. That was probably one of the biggest things for me. I just call friends from high school, friends from middle school, family members, just stuff like that, just to reach out and reconnect, to try and just disconnect for sure.
What was the draft process like for you? Did you kind of have an idea that you were going to be drafted your senior year, or was it after the Cape Cod League? Because I saw you spend some time down there as well. Where did you feel like your stocks kind of started to bolster up?
Yeah, I would just say probably at the end of the year for sure. But I wouldn't even say I was really talking with that many scouts at the end of the year. I wasn't really a big buzz name, kind of stuff like that, but I knew I had an opportunity in the Cape to try and make myself try and make my name a little bit bigger for sure. And, I had the opportunity to do that, and I kind of took that the best I could. Played really well out there, had a lot of fun. And that's for sure something that really bolstered my name up the charts.
So I take it you grew up a Twins fan. Am I right to assume that?
Yes, you are.
And they had a fun little playoff run here this year. Unfortunately, it fell up a little bit short, but we'll get into the Cubs specifically. Does it feel cool to be drafted by such a historic organization? I'm not trying to get you to, say what the Cubs fans all want to hear. Be honest, but is there any party that's like, wow, this is a pretty proud group to be part of?
No, you're 100% correct. I mean, the traditions, the culture at Wrigleyville. I haven't been there before, but I know that it's among probably top 5 in the MLB for sure. And just knowing that, you can go anywhere in the United States of America, and I'm sure that you will find Cubs fans. So that's just something where it's a small piece of a huge pie. That kind of fully envelops the Cubs organization. They do a great job here as an org. They treat people with respect, and just being able to represent the Cubs as a specific team, means a lot.
That's so awesome to hear, and you're totally right about that. Anywhere you go, there's Cubs fans thing. I was at Louisville, Kentucky a couple weeks ago, and there were still W flags all over randomly. The team season's been over for a month. I don't get it, so it's cool to see that you even know. Without even ever been over to Wrigley. That's awesome. Well, Brett, we appreciate you doing this interview with us today. Is there any shout outs you want to give before we let you go?
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to Mike Carrico for getting our little spiel on Fortnite. I actually think I might be playing with him later tonight, so we'll see.
Is one of you specifically better?
Oh yeah, I'm way better than him. I really hope he did not say that he's better than me.
So that won't even be in our interview with Mike. He talked about that after we had stopped recording, but now Ben and I were both like, we got to bring that up while the mics are hot when we talk to Brett. So he just mentioned that he was going to go play with you because Ben had mentioned we're going to go interview Brett, and he said, oh, we're playing Fortnite after. So
yeah, no, we probably did. I think we're also going to get a few other guys in there. I think Drew Bowser might be in there, and maybe Cohen Moreno. We'll see. But yeah, we're gonna get a squad assembled for sure.
Love it. Well, thanks, Brett. We appreciate you doing this. Hopefully the squad gets assembled out there for the fall league as well, and you guys have a good winter.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Brett.
Thanks, Brett.
Huge thanks to Brett Bateman of the Chicago Cubs, your Chicago Cubs, I should say. Another great prospect interview, Ben. We really enjoy interviewing those fall league guys. So far, they all seem to be really interested in doing so. Hopefully, we'll get a few more of them in there. And I think my biggest bottom line through both Carrico and Bateman has been these guys are just you and me, right?
Yeah.
They're just guys our age. They like playing video games. They like, everything that we do. You heard from Bateman there. They like going out and having fun together. But at the end of the day, they are professional baseball players or semi-professional baseball players at this point in their life, which is so hard to fathom, but that's where they've gotten to. That's a dream, and they've achieved it, at least to that early level.
Yeah, special thanks to Brett. That was an awesome interview. Was more than happy to have him on, following the Carrico thing, and more interviews coming your way. So we're super excited for that. While we're on the topic of scheduling, really quick, Fridays only now. School kind of threw a little bit of a temper in our plans, but that's okay because now we get an episode every single week out to you. Crosstown Trivia Classic. If you've been keeping up, we've been through 3 rounds so far. Just got done recording Nick Kane versus Tony Slater-Martin. So that will come at you on Friday. This obviously releasing on Wednesday. So Friday is Tony Slater-Martin versus Nick Kane. And then next week we get into the next round, and that will feature Mr. Fernelli over here against Dom Amidio. So super excited for that one. So thank you all for the support on the Crosstown Trivia Classic. I think it's been going super well so far, and we're still going. We have 4 episodes remaining, and I appreciate all the love and support that it's gotten thus far.
We'll keep it right here for just a couple minutes now at the tail end of the episode. If you are new to the 120 podcast through today's interview, stick with us. This is just a taste of what we do on our normal episodes, a couple minutes of baseball talk. We're going to do Cubs. We're going to do the World Series. Let's start with the World Series. As it stands, as we record on a Tuesday night, the Rangers up 2-1. Ben has his Diamondbacks jersey on there, up 2-1 in the series, albeit they're up 10-0 as I currently stand.
10-1 now.
10-1 now. Okay, 10-1 now as it currently stands. Who had the one for the Diamondbacks? Literally seconds before we started recording, I looked it up.
It was I don't even know. It wasn't even I think it was a sac fly. So
what do you think about the World Series so far, Ben? Last night was an interesting game. The Rangers took it 3-1, pretty much 3-0 the entire game. Max Scherzer left with injury, and so did
Adolis Garcia.
Adolis Garcia. I'm sorry, I couldn't remember for a split second. But yeah, Adolis Garcia and Max Scherzer both off the World Series roster for the foreseeable future. It seems though the Rangers are well on their way to a 3-1 lead.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive to say the least. I think it's been a pretty good World Series thus far. Besides, I mean, I guess we're in 2 blowouts territories now of 2 games, but that first game was phenomenal with the Corey Seager 2-run homer in the 9th, and then Adolis Garcia hitting the walk-off. They're going to miss him if this thing's going to get to 3-1 either way, but everything's kind of going the Rangers' way right now, and it feels like that's if they're marching their way to a 3-1 series lead after tonight, unless anything unforeseen happens. So, yeah, I guess the injuries came at a all right time because they're about to be up 3-1, and this thing will eventually go back to Texas if they can't clinch it out today when this episode releases. So, yeah, it's been a weird postseason overall. I think a lot of, obviously, 2 teams you did not expect to be here. And it's just been some blowouts and games that haven't been that exciting. I'm ultimately ready for the offseason at this point. I'm kind of postseasoned out, even though I enjoy postseason baseball and I've loved seeing these 2 underdogs go all the way. I'm ready for this offseason start.
Real quick, let's touch on Corbin. I know you're a big fan of him and the baby backs.
Yeah.
Hitless last night, 0 for 3 as we stand right now tonight in Game 4. Is a whole extra month catching up to the rookie?
It might be a whole extra month, might be catching up to the Diamondbacks as we see right now. Their luck might have run out. So I had a bet on Corbin Carroll to hit a home run today. That's why I have the jersey on. And, I was going to classes today and I was feeling a little bit in the festivities of Fall Classic, even though today is Halloween. So that's why I have a Carroll jersey.
Yeah.
I have a Carroll jersey as well as a Semien jersey. And I bet on Carroll to hit a homer. So I was like, let's just bust out the Carroll jersey for the day.
Because this is releasing November 1st, I didn't really consider that today as we record it's Halloween. Happy Halloween, Ben.
Yeah, exactly. Happy Halloween.
And happy Halloween to all of our listeners. I hope there was some fun baseball celebrations and just fun celebrations in general over the weekend. If you follow us on Twitter, you will see that Ben and I were together at one point over the weekend, actually 2 times. But the one time we stopped and took a picture as Batman and the Riddler from the most recent Batman movie.
Not planned either.
Not planned, unplanned. I had a couple's costume set for Batman and the Joker. And then Ben ultimately was also the Riddler. So Gotham was out in full force in my apartment
exactly.
on Friday night. We had a fun time. Let's touch on a couple quick Cubs things. We talked a lot about Pete Alonso in our previous episodes. We talked a lot about re-signing Cody Bellinger. A new name has joined the fold since we last went headsets on, Ben, and it's Juan Soto.
It's pretty insane, right? Because there are 3 Chicago beat reporters that have all reported on it, and David Kaplan, Michael Cerami, and Bruce Levine. Got to give them credit where credit is due. And they're the 3 that broke the Dansby Swanson news last year. So I am totally buying in on this new development with Juan Soto, and it makes a lot of sense because we're seeing right now, and the early rumblings of the offseason is Cody Bellinger is going to wait as long as possible to sign, considering he is a Scott Boras client. So if the Cubs can hop on that big bat early in the offseason, get a potential trade done with the San Diego Padres, that would be massive. And I know a lot of people are trying to figure out price tags, what it might be. The big name right now out there is Christopher Morel. And while people might be upset about, is Christopher Morel potentially part of this deal? Folks, at the end of the day, you're getting one of the great players in all of baseball, and he's only 25 years old. And I would assume that if they were to sign him, an extension would come with it. And I think we'll touch more on potential offseason targets in later episodes, but this is just a quick debriefing. You got to be all over Juan Soto if he's truly available.
I mean, to think he's only 25 years old. He was barely Brett and Michael's age when he won the World Series of the Nationals.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, at 21 years old, that's ridiculous. He is such a great talent. I know it's only the 1 year left technically, right? So if they traded for him, so they have the 1 year under contract. So I hope the selling point wouldn't be ridiculously high. But then again, a year worth of Juan Soto, even just at face value, would take the team to the entirely new level.
Yeah.
Even if it means not re-signing Cody Bellinger, although the Athletic reported today that it's looking like only 6 years, 144 is what I heard. And if that, it'll be higher. But if that's really what the bottom line is for now, there's no reason why the Cubs shouldn't attack that.
There's no reason the Cubs shouldn't potentially attack both. if that's the case, especially if that's the price tag for Cody Bellinger that we're talking about. If I were to make a prediction, though, for Cody Bellinger, I think that teams are a little weary about giving center fielders, even though Bellinger's 2 years younger than a lot of the outfielders were when they entered free agency. I would have to assume that Cody would get anywhere in the Chris Bryant range of a contract, like 7 for 188 would make sense. And even then, I'm still buying in on this idea of, if you want to improve on what you did this year, because you have a great foundation and set, why not go get both? Go get the guy that provided the most offense for you this year while making an addition on top of that and having, if you have Juan Soto and Cody Bellinger in the middle of your lineup, that's on top of the pieces that are already in place. It's one of the best lineups in Major League Baseball.
Add Pete Alonso to the fold, and we'll see what we can do with an all-star lineup. See what we can do with the Cardinals can't. You think Paul Goldschmidt's sitting on his couch this week in a Bryce Harper-esque way, thinking like, "Damn, what could have been"? Or is it far enough separated?
I think it might be. It might be a little far separated at this point, especially because he's had success with the Cardinals for so many years,
personal success.
But it definitely has to sting a little after being like a Arizona lifer that, they finally made the World Series, and the anchor for so many years isn't there. It's always got to sting a bit.
You saw him this weekend too. My friend John is a diehard Cardinals fan, and he and I were talking about that yesterday. And John was saying, yeah, I would think that he's not only thinking like he's mad that or not mad, but sad to be leaving out of the Diamondbacks. It's that he's like, why can't we have done this? How come we haven't done this so far with the Cardinals in his time there? I mean, it's been X amount of years. I think 3 years by now, 2-3 years. And he won an MVP.
Even longer than that. I think 4 or 5. Yeah.
He won an MVP. Yeah, it's probably been 2 or 3 years with him and Arenado together ever since Arenado paid the Cardinals to take Arenado off their hands. So it's been a couple great years with that roster, and they have completely underperformed. I think that's going to be the team that what could have been for years to come if they don't find out a way in future years here. Maybe just slightly overclouded by the Atlanta Braves.
You're talking about St. Louis?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll certainly be interesting, their approach this offseason, because I think they want to contend next year. But who knows, man? I mean, they still got Goldie and Arenado, and I don't think they're going anywhere. So
they're always going to be scary. They're always going to be able to put 9 guys in the field. That was the Cardinals' shtick for so long. They're going to find 9 guys that could be a playoff caliber team. And now they have an all-star infield, and they have underperformed, I would say, at best. But let's talk a little bit about this Cubs team and what else the key points are. As we head into most of the offseason, we'll kind of flesh out a full offseason episode here. But the last talking point of this episode, let's talk a little bit longer about who else is on the radar. Obviously, Pete Alonso's still in thought. But from there, it's a little murky. I would like to see what Jed does. And I would like to see Jed sign somebody that I wouldn't have remembered and be like, oh yeah, I like that. I'm not going to say, go do this, go do that. There's the 3 obvious targets: Cody, Pete, and Juan Soto. 2 out of 3, any 2 of those 3, I'm thrilled. Any one of those 3, I'm happy.
Yeah. It certainly is interesting because we really don't know where they are going right now. We know that they want to be better than they were last year. And that starts with getting a big bat in the middle of your lineup that can either produce the same that Cody Bellinger did last past year, or even more, and potentially Juan Soto or Pete Alonso. And then you kind of look at the pitching, and everything's murky right now because you really don't. You said it best. You really don't have an idea of what they're doing. I know they're talking to Kyle Hendricks about a potential extension. That's also something that's come up in the last week or two. So what does your rotation look like next year? Because I think we're all anticipating Marcus Stroman being back with the Cubs next year, or at least being back with the Cubs through opting into his player deal. Does that mean they potentially trade him and go and look at the starters out there? Because there are a couple of aces out there, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto from Japan, and Blake Snell and Aaron Nola. There's a lot of question marks, and I think by the next time that we record, or by the next time we record a big off-season episode, I think we'll have a better idea of what the plan is overall and who they're targeting, and what, because once this World Series ends, everything kicks into 5th gear.
At this rate, sorry about your jersey, but it sounds like it could very well be over by the time you listen to this episode.
Yeah, potentially. If you're listening it tomorrow night.
Yeah. We will see you tomorrow night. For Ben Hootie, and I'm Mikey Fernelli. Thank you for listening to this episode of 120. Too much Cardinals references in this episode, by the way. We had a couple Cardinals minutes there, and I did the Joe Buck thing, the Jack Buck thing. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, though, thank you again to Brett Bateman, Michael Carrico, both of them for the last 2 interviews. We have some big ones coming up. A voice you might remember from Wrigley Field that'll be out next week. Thank you for listening to 120. Go Cubs.